Well, that's what you deserve when you're a fucking serial killer. Like, how does it feel? You fucking asshole.
Hi guys, so I'm sorry I haven't filmed in like 2 weeks. I suck, I know. Today I'm going to be talking about somebody that creeps me the fuck out, and that is a serial killer named Jeffrey Dahmer. I've always been interested about serial killers, and I am going to tell you guys exactly what Jeffrey Dahmer did to deserve his name of the Milwaukee Cannibal. So as usual, every serial killer starts out as a small child. Pretty normal. I mean, there's some creepy home videos of him just like being a normal child, and it always makes me think, like, how did they get to that point of being so far gone? Was like a little shy as a child, but nothing crazy. When he was a teenager, he started collecting roadkill, and he would dissect the roadkill that he found. I didn't read anything about him like actually hurting animals that were still alive, so I don't know if he was that kind of person, but it really doesn't matter because he did a lot worse things in his life. So anyways, he had fantasies about men and kind of like weird stuff. Like, he would fantasize about like knocking people out and just like laying next to their lifeless body. Like, what? He knew this jogger ran by and he was gonna knock him out unconscious and just lay next to his body. Like, this was like a sexual fantasy of his. He did that, went outside, hid in the bushes, and the guy never came by. But that was like the first time he ever thought about attacking anyone, and this was like early in high school that he did this. So the first time he killed somebody was when he was 18, and it was like a couple weeks after he graduated high school. His parents got divorced, and I honestly don't think that this had anything to do with who he turned into, because he had already started doing like weird things before they got divorced. So I don't blame anybody's life who becomes a serial killer on their parents getting divorced. Like, that's a little far-fetched. His mom did move with his brother to Wisconsin, and his dad didn't know that, and his dad had moved out already. So Jeffrey was alone at his house, but he like liked that he was alone at his house because now he could murder somebody and no one would know. So he decides, I'm gonna murder someone as a graduation present to myself. So he goes and he picks up a hitchhiker who's his age. He's like, hey dude, let's go back to my house. We'll drink, it'll be cool, like, come with me. They hang out and they drink for like a few hours, and the kid's like, all right, I gotta go home, Jeffrey, like, I'm sorry, but this is kind of random and I have to go home, thanks for the ride. And so Jeffrey like picked up I think it was a bat, and he killed his new friend, I don't know. He cut him up and he brought him, and he was going to dump his body, and it was in these trash bags, and he had it in the back of his truck, and he's driving, and he got pulled over by the police. He was being questioned by the police officer. What are in those bags? Like, what are you doing? You swerved over the line, like, what are you doing? And he was like,
oh, my parents, they just got into a really big fight, and I just needed to go for a drive, so I thought I would take some of my stuff to the dump.
and the police officer let him go and gave him a ticket and was like, okay, bye. Like, that night could have saved so many lives. He didn't do it again for a few years. This is important, I haven't mentioned this yet. He was a very big alcoholic. Jeffrey started drinking in high school. He would drink in class. He would have like cups of scotch in class, and kids around him would be like, what are you drinking? And he's like, oh, it's just my medicine, but it was booze. And so he would get drunk all the time, and his dad started being like, okay, Jeffrey, like, you need to get a job, like, what are you doing? You can't just live at this house and like not do anything. And he didn't want to get a job. His dad was like, okay, Jesus Christ, like, you need to go to the military. He was in the military for a little while as a medic, as a field medic, which is just so, you know, crazy to me, because it's like he got pleasure from like cutting into people. So I can't even imagine having your life be in the hands of someone like that. That didn't work out for him either. He goes to live with his grandmother. So then he started going to the bars, and this is where he started killing people again. he would go out to the gay bars, he would invite them back to his grandmother's house while she was fucking there, and he would give them alcohol laced with drugs that would knock them out, sleeping pills and stuff, and he would strangle them to kill them. And then he would have sex with them, he would have oral sex with them, and then he would like dismember their bodies. And he had this huge thing about saving their skulls, like saving their heads, their severed heads, and he would try to preserve their heads and keep them, and that was like his biggest thing, was like keeping his victims. I don't want to go into every murder because he almost did it the same every time. He would bring them back, he had a process. Give them liquor with sedatives, and then they would pass out, he would strangle them, and then he would rape them and dismember their bodies. This was like his fucking Saturday night thing. So after a while of Jeffrey killing these people, his grandmother would smell, smells. She would smell these smells coming from his room and from the basement where he would dismember the bodies. She kicked him out. She was like, something fucking weird's going on. You keep bringing guys home and I keep smelling all these nasty smells, like you need to get out of my house. So he got his own apartment in the other side of Milwaukee, and he continued his killing spree. He kept bringing home these poor guys who had no idea, they just thought they were having a good time, and he would, strangle, murder, mutilate them, rape them. It was disgusting. So he started to inject this solution once they were unconscious. As an experiment. He wanted to make these people into almost like zombies. He wanted them to be his like sex slaves, but not die, because once they died, they started to decompose and they started to smell. And I don't think that really bothered him. I mean, he was fucked up, but I think he knew that it started to smell and it bothered other people. Like, he didn't want to get caught. So I think that's why he wanted to make them into almost like a lifeless person that was still alive, if that makes any sense. So this didn't really work out for him. The person he did it to was this young boy. He drugged him, he sexually assaulted him, but he wasn't dead. He drilled a hole into his skull, he injected this acid, and then he had sex with him. He just was like fucked up, and he was drunk the whole time doing this. He decided, oh, I want to go to the bar. Like, he's unconscious, he's fine, he's not gonna wake up, I'm gonna go to the bar. So Jeffrey gets back from the bar. I just shake my head when I heard about this, because he comes back and he sees the little boy sitting outside naked, talking to 3 women, and they were all freaking out, and they had called the police. The woman had said to the police, like, something's wrong, this little boy's beat the fuck up, like, he's not okay. Something's wrong. And so Jeffrey comes over and he's like, oh no, that's just my boyfriend, like, that's my boyfriend, he's my lover, like, don't worry about it, he's with me. And like, the kid was super young. So when the police came, the woman was like, he's not okay, like, something is sketchy here, like, I don't trust Jeffrey, like, I don't trust that guy. And the police officer told her to shut the fuck up and said, mind your own business, and said it was a domestic dispute. Put a towel around the naked boy and walked him back to Jeffrey's house. Seriously? I couldn't believe that. Like, are you kidding me? You literally walked that kid to his death, because then Jeffrey injected him again in the brain with that acid stuff, and it ended up killing him. And then he did the same thing, dismembered the body, kept, like, no one thought, like, oh, maybe I should check on that fucking kid. I don't know, that just pissed me off. Like, are you serious? Like, way to be the worst police officer ever. This keeps happening. He keeps killing people, killing people, killing people. He buys this 50-gallon drum, puts acid in it, is now putting multiple bodies in it to turn them into sludge, and then, ew, so gross, but ugh. And then he would dump them down the drain. Like, he had like a system, and I can't believe he got away with 17 murders. Like, are you kidding me? So the way he got caught was that this guy, he was about to turn into his 18th victim, and he got invited back to Jeffrey's house, and Jeffrey was being really weird, and he tried to like put handcuffs on him, and he had like a knife out, and the guy was like, hey, can I use your bathroom? Like, that's fine. Like, let's just have a couple beers. Like, I'm just gonna use your bathroom. And he ended up like booking it. He like hit Jeffrey with something and ended up booking it, tracking down the police. And that's when they went to his house. They found all of these severed heads and body parts, his vat of melted bodies. Like, oh my god, I can't imagine the people who have to go into these crime scenes and just take all the evidence. Like, that has got to be the grossest thing in the world. Like, that is traumatizing and no one can prepare you for that. So I just can't even imagine. So Jeffrey did end up going to jail. He got like a 900 something life sentence, like 900 years in prison, like obviously life sentence. He just didn't even care. Like, it just didn't seem like he cared. He said he was sorry, but there was like no emotion behind his apology. Like, you're a fucking monster. He got tried as a sane human being because he knew what he was doing was wrong. He wasn't, you know, he was very calculated about what he was doing. Did he have mental issues? Definitely. But a lot of people have problems that they can handle by talking to someone or like being on some type of medication. But no, you go around murdering people and stealing them from their families. So I don't feel bad for him. Anyways, he ended up getting shanked in prison, which I honestly, when I heard that, I go, good, good. You are a monster. You shouldn't be wasting our tax dollars. Like, get the fuck out of my face, bitch. Hope you guys enjoyed this serial killer video. He's just a whole different kind of crazy. So if you guys like these kind of videos, I will keep doing